Willie Mays baseball cards, all 56 wax pack dandies. If you're ever in the mood for a quick pictorial history of this great hobby's golden age, you may want to walk through a list of Willie Mays baseball cards sometime. In fact, right now is a pretty good darn time to do just that. Because you see, Mays' amazing career spanned from the very beginning of the Topps-Bowman rivalry and played out right through the mid-1970s when Topps abandoned issuing cards in series in favor of dropping all of their 1974 checklist in one fell swoop. In between, Mays built a legend in the game that may never be matched, putting together a diamond resume that left him as probably the greatest center fielder to ever take the field. And over the course of his 23-year run in the major leagues, Mays appeared on well over 300 different cards. If we dragged every one of those out of our e-shoebox for this list, we'd be here until the New York Giants win another World Series. So we're going to bring a bit more focus to our rundown of Mays' pasteboards. So here are all the Willie Mays baseball cards issued through wax packs in major sets during his career, 56 in all. So take a deep breath. Grab some bubble gum and get ready for all the glorious base cards, all the All-Star cards, all the League Leader cards, all the special cards, every Willie Mays baseball card that ever made a little kid love a wax pack more than a needle rock he picked up from the creek bank. Note, card values are gleaned from the PSA auction price realize tool using the most commonly graded condition for the set in question. 1951 Bowman, Willie Mays, number 305. The 1951 Bowman set lays claim to this beauty, the one and the only true Willie Mays rookie card, just as it does to the Mickey Mantle rookie card. And even though this one shows Mays standing in front of a tarp that's come loose on one end to reveal the barn hiding behind, it's a stone-cold classic. It really is gorgeous too, and the unusual background just adds to the mystique and nostalgia, invoking mental images of simpler times, when baseball cards made do with what they had. No batting gloves, sabermetrics, body armor, or cameras required. PSA 7 value, $25,000 to $30,000. 1952 Bowman, Willie Mays, number 218. Not quite as dramatic as his horizontal rookie card, this second-year Mays is still amazing, and the background of nothing but blue sky adds a real Field of Dreams vibe to the card. This one will never touch its 52 Topps counterpart or the 51 Bowman rookie when it comes to value, but that means it's just a bit more accessible for collectors who can't afford a 5-figure cardboard. PSA 7 value, $6,500 to $7,000. 1952 Topps Willie Mays, number 261. Of course, this is the Mays card that gets most of the attention, and it's the one that a great many collectors and casual hobby observers think of when they hear Willie Mays rookie card. It's all about the mystique of the first full Topps set, spurred on by the legend of the 1952 Topps Mantle 50 cards later in the run. It's a hobby tide that lifted all the cardboard boats over the last several decades, and Mays is no exception. In fact, this first Topps Mays card helped build the hype around the 52 set, so it's no surprise at all that this is still the most valuable say-hey card, pound for pound, or PSA grade for PSA grade. Is it the most aesthetically pleasing? That's for you, the beholder, to decide. For me, it's pretty far down on the beauty list, but right there at the top of the historically significant roll call. PSA 6 value, $20,000 to $25,000. 1953 Topps Willie Mays, number 244. Now, if you're into beautiful baseball cards, then the 1953 Topps Mays is probably right up your alley. Featuring a gorgeous, full-body, full-color painting of the young phenom, the 1953 Mays gives us our first view of the future Hall of Famer on the diamond. Probably. I mean, the background definitely has a baseball feel, but if you take out Mays from the frame, it could also be a pasture with a couple of farm buildings winking out near the horizon. But no matter where Mays is standing, this card will always maintain its standing as a hobby icon that can outwow most mere mortal cardboard swaths. PSA 6 value, $4,500 to $7,000. 1954 Bowman, Willie Mays, number 89. After missing out on Mays in its landmark 1953 set, while the 1951 Rookie of the Year winner served in the military, Bowman brought Say Hey back in 1954. This one gives us the first smiling card of Mays, carried to collectors on the back of a big, full-color photo. There's no doubt where Mays is posing here either, as the dugout steps and the background are clearly visible. Not as popular as the cards that precede it, the 1954 Bowman is nonetheless a more affordable early Mays card. PSA 7 value $1,300 to $1,600. 1954 Topps Willie Mays, number 90. Bright and bold, you have to think this 1954 Topps Mays card helped to push collectors away from Bowman and towards the upstart card maker. After all, not only did you get all that pizzazz, you also got two images of the soon-to-be National League Most Valuable Player on one card. Also home to the Hank Aaron rookie card, the 1954 Topps set is the first to feature the two future home run kings in the same issue. The Mays is a classic 50s piece that invokes the essence of the era in a single glance. PSA 7 value $2,500 to $3,000. 1955 Bowman, Willie Mays, number 184. Facing fierce competition from Topps and fighting for their hobby life, Bowman took one last shot at baseball cards and Willie Mays in 1955. The wood-bordered TV set theme is a love it or hate it type of affair for collectors, but the set is instantly recognizable and unlike anything that came before it. In this final Mays Bowman card, we get a shot at the superstar with his hands on his knees, outfield fence running behind him. As with the 54 Bowman Mays, this one is not Willie's most popular card ever, but it's a more affordable option for hobbyists looking to add a young Mays to their collection. PSA 7 value $1,200 to $1,500. 1955 Topps Willie Mays, number 194. Sticking with their two-photo theme from 1954, Topps turned their design sideways in 1955, creating plenty of space for a grinning Mays on this classic. And if the 54 Topps Mays didn't quite drive the nail into the Bowman Kaufman, this one at least swung the hammer. The 55 Bowman Mays is nice and all, but the Topps card is a work of art by comparison. PSA 7 value $4,000 to $5,000. 1956 Topps Willie Mays, number 130. If that headshot on the 1956 Topps Mays card looks familiar, well, that's probably because you just finished looking at it on the 1955 Topps Mays card. Same photo, just move to the left. Topps also freshened things up by ditching the swinging figurine in lieu of a full card background action shot, showing Mays sliding into home plate. Looks safe to me, don't you think? This is a classic card, but the recycled photo is one of the early indications that Topps wasn't above economizing here and there once they dispatched their competition to the big common bins in the sky. PSA 7 value $1,500 to $1,800. 1957 Topps Willie Mays, number 10. After playing around with their card sizes for several years, Topps landed on a 2.5 by 3.5 inch format for their second full competition-free year. As it turns out, they had just set a new standard that persists to this day. Fitting, then, that one of the most gorgeous cards in the set belongs to another standard bearer, one Willie Howard Mays. Of course, there are probably hundreds of cards in this set that can vie for the title of most beautiful, but few of them carry the Mays mystique or price tag. PSA 7 value $1,000 to $1,500. 1958 Topps Willie Mays, number 5. Returning to a solid background for the first time since 1954, 1955 if you count that wavy fade thing, Topps gave collectors lots of headshots and grainy posted swings of their 1958 issue. Mays gets the head and shoulders treatment, not the most attractive of his cards, but a nice period piece, and the first card to feature him as a member of the San Francisco Giants after the team moved west for the 1958 season. PSA 7 value $1,000 to $1,300. 1958 Topps Rival Fence Busters, Willie Mays and Duke Snider, number 436. As if seeing Mays on a San Fran card wasn't hard enough for the fans back in New York, Topps rubbed more salt in the wound with this special card featuring Mays and Los Angeles Dodgers star center fielder Duke Snider. Like Mays' Giants, the Dodgers had come west in 1958, leaving Brooklyn fans battered and bleeding back home. Of course, there was a whole new set of fans out west to welcome the Sluggers and their teammates, and the Giants-Dodgers rivalry lives on all these years later. And if you're looking to get the most talent and home runs for your buck, you might have trouble finding a rival for this card. PSA 7 value, $150 to $200. 1958 Topps Willie Mays All-Star, number 486. In 1958, Topps introduced All-Star cards for the first time, featuring the Sport magazine selections of the game's best players. This was a boon for collectors longing for the good old days, 1955 and before, when they could get more than one card of their favorites. By '58, Mays was already a four-time All-Star, with a fifth selection on the way that summer. No surprise, then, that he graced one of these star-spangled goodies. PSA 7 value, $200 to $300. 1959 Topps Willie Mays, number 50. In 1959, Topps let collectors look through the porthole to get a glimpse at what their baseball heroes were doing on the other side. Why a porthole? Hard to say. Maybe it was intended to be a knothole, like in a wooden outfield fence, or maybe Topps was intent on trying out their construction paper skills. Whatever the case, the result for Say Hey is a pretty tight headshot that shows a pensive Mays without the distracting ballpark ambiance. PSA 7 value, $700 to $1,000. 1959 Topps Willie Mays, the catch, number 464. In the 1954 World Series, Mays famously perpetuated a bit of fielding thievery that became simply known as the catch. On that play, in Game 1, Vic Wertz of the Cleveland Indians drove a ball deep into center field. Too deep, in fact, for mere mortals to track down, and the Polo Grounds crowd thought their team was doomed. Willie Mays was no mere mortal, though, and not only caught up to the ball, but hauled it in over his shoulder, and then wheeled and fired the ball back to the infield. 5 years later, Topps commemorated the moment on this exciting three-panel card that still gets your heart racing today. PSA 7 value, $200 to $400. 1959 Topps Willie Mays All-Star, number 563. Topps was back with another run of All-Star cards in 1959, and of course, Mays was back in the lineup. This time, National Leaguers got a red background as opposed to blue in 1958, giving the Mays card a bit of extra pop. PSA 7 value, $250 to $300. 1960 Topps Willie Mays, number 200. Returning to the horizontal format for the first time since 1956, Topps also gave collectors a double shot of Mays and others on one card in 1960, a large, colorful headshot and a small black and white action shot. Though Mays doesn't look all that happy in the main photo here, the card has become a hobby classic and makes a great centerpiece or standalone display item. PSA 7 value, $700 to $800. 1960 Topps Master and Mentor, Willie Mays and Bill Rigney, number 7. This is Mays' second multiplayer card, though the other player in this case was Giants manager Bill Rigney. There was never any doubt about who the star of this pasteboard was, of course. A point underlined when Rigney was fired in June of 1960, less than halfway through the Giants' first season in Candlestick Park. Even as one of the weaker entries on our list, this one is still a vintage Willie Mays baseball card, which makes it an all-time winner. PSA 7 value, $40 to $70. 1960 Topps Willie Mays All-Star, number 564. Maybe the most innovative among all Topps All-Star designs, the Monster 60 design has become immensely popular with collectors over the years. And a swinging primetime Mays casting his giant shadow against the classic background makes for yet another hobby icon. PSA 7 value, $200 to $350. 1961 Topps Willie Mays, number 150. Did Topps expect Mays to get traded before the 1961 season was out? You have to wonder, given the unimaginative hatless shot they rolled out for Say Hey that summer. After all, that was the treatment usually reserved for scrubs, or guys who changed teams too quickly for Topps to keep up, photo-wise. Still, it's a 1960s Willie Mays card, so it can't be all that bad, right? PSA 8 value, $750 to $1,000. 1961 Topps NL batting leaders, Roberto Clemente, Dick Groat, Norm Larker, Willie Mays, number 41. This card, showing the National League's batting leaders for 1960, looks sort of upside down, with Roberto Clemente and Willie Mays at the bottom, and Dick Grote and Norm Larker at the top. The good news for collectors is that Mays' less than prime spot on this card has helped keep prices inside the hobby stratosphere. PSA 8 value, $125 to $150. 1961 Topps Willie Mays MVP, number 482. In 1961, Topps ran through the men who had won MVPs through the company's card-making history, beginning in 1951. Mays made the cut by virtue of his 1954 National League title, and the resultant card is a stone-cold beauty, except for the airbrush cap. You have to assume that Topps didn't want to show the old New York logo, since the Giants' move to San Francisco was probably still pretty raw for many. Still in all, this is a pretty snazzy card, and you can always break out your orange magic marker if you want to fix it up. PSA 8 value, $400 to $600. 1961 Topps Willie Mays All-Star, number 579. Willie Mays always made big news wherever he went in baseball, so it was fitting that he graced one of the first Sporting News All-Star cards. Featuring a smiling Say Hey bursting from a newspaper, the card offered up some interesting reading in the background too, if you could decipher the print. PSA 8 value, $500 to $600. 1962 Topps Willie Mays, number 300. Another love it or hate it design, 1962 Topps brought back the wood borders collectors hadn't seen since 1955 Bowman, but with a different motif. Here, each player's photo is stuck to a wood background with one corner rolling up. Mays looks right at home, working his bat and smiling with the ballpark behind him. This one is tougher condition-wise than cards from 1961 and 1963 forward, so we slip back to the PSA 7s for pricing here, before returning to PSA 8s for the 1963 cards. PSA 7 value, $1,200 to $1,500. 1962 Topps Manager's Dream, Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays, number 18. Willie, Mickey, or the Duke? With apologies to Brooklyn Dodgers fans, the debate really came down to Willie or Mickey. And that's a debate that may never be settled. What was settled long ago, though, is that Manager's Dream is a collector's dream and a hobby icon that's just about on everyone's wish list. PSA 7 value, $600 to $700. 1962 Topps NL Home Run Leaders, Orlando Cepeda, Willie Mays, Frank Robinson, number 54. Sort of lost in the glare of the Roger Maris-Mickey Mantle tandem assault on Babe Ruth's single-season home run record in 1961 is that another pair of teammates were pulling off some pretty amazing long ball feats of their own that summer. Topps served up a reminder that next spring, though, celebrating Orlando Cepeda's National League home run crown, as well as Mays in the runner-up spot. Poor Frank Robinson could only manage just a distant honorable mention here, despite nabbing 1961 National League MVP honors. PSA 7 value, $30 to $75. 1962 Topps Willie Mays All-Star, number 395. Another year, another Willie Mays All-Star card. This one features opposed action. How's that for an oxymoron shot of Mays powering through the strike zone, with some green grass, some stands, and a huge chunk of blue sky in the background. Yes, this card is a winner. PSA value, $100 to $150. 1963 Fleer Willie Mays, number 5. If you can't beat the local card manufacturer, well, you can always try cookies. That's what Fleer did in 1963, breaking free of Ted Williams and the all-time greats after a couple of years to issue a set of 67 cards featuring then-current players. Cookies, not gum, were the main products, and the cards were the premiums. Topps didn't buy that story, and neither did the courts. But it lasted long enough for another pretty nifty Willie Mays card to be born. PSA 8 value, $500 to $600. 1963 Topps Willie Mays, number 300. Meanwhile, Topps gave us a mostly in-frame shot of Mays, complete with some other dude's head coming out of his shoulder. So could that be Mays' secret, that he was actually two guys? Maybe. Or maybe it's just a funky photo. Still, a fun card though. PSA 8 value, $1,800 to $2,100. 1963 Topps NL home run leaders: Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks, Orlando Cepeda, Willie Mays, Frank Robinson. Number 3. What do you do when the top 5 guys in the National League home run race are all future Hall of Famers? Why, you put them all on one leader's card, that's what. Topps was so sure they had a royal flush with these 5 dudes, that's exactly what they did. And out of them all, Mays took center stage, courtesy of his 49 dingers in 1962. PSA 8 value, $500 to $600. 1963 Topps Pride of NL: Willie Mays and Stan Musial, number 138. Mays was smack dab in his prime in 1963, while St. Louis Cardinals legend Stan Musial was in his final season. But on this card, the two baseball icons come together as the collective pride of NL. Sheesh, just how many great memories can you cram into one hunk of cardboard anyway? PSA 8 value, $250 to $300. 1964 Topps Willie Mays, number 150. What do you think Mays is looking at down there to his right on this card? Probably not a young Barry Bonds, since Mays' future godson wasn't born until July of 1964, after this card was created. Whatever is down there, it gives us an interesting shot of the legend to contemplate while we fight the hunger pangs brought on by the card's orange creamsicle accents. PSA 8 value, $1,200 to $1,500. 1964 Topps NL home run leaders: Hank Aaron, Orlando Cepeda, Willie Mays, Willie McCovey. Number 9. Another year, another run of Hall of Famers at the top of the NL home run parade. This time around, Robinson fell off the leaderboard and Mays slipped to 3rd, but at least we get bigger pictures of the 4 dudes in question. PSA 8 value, $200 to $400. 1964 Topps Giant Gunners: Willie Mays and Orlando Cepeda, number 306. And just in case you couldn't get enough of Mays and Cepeda, Topps gave collectors another sunny dose with this Giant Gunners card. This one wasn't just a candid shot either, as a bit of planning and choreography went into getting the 2 sluggers lined up just right, bats cocked and ready to rock. PSA 8 value, $125 to $175. 1964 Topps in NL: Hank Aaron and Willie Mays, number 423. Musial may have been gone by the time 1964 rolled around, but Hank Aaron was still smashing baseballs and doing just about everything else you could want from a diamond superstar. So yeah, Mays still ranked as part of the tops in the NL, but his card mate was no slouch in his own right. PSA 8 value, $500 to $700. 1965 Topps Willie Mays, number 250. This card is a bona fide hobby icon. Part of it is the design itself, featuring a rah-rah pennant motif that makes you want to head out to the ballpark. And part of it is the thicker-looking Mays, ready to head into the home stretch of his career, but still super dangerous. And a healthy dose of it is Mays' 1965 performance, 52 home runs and another MVP award. And finally, add in the cameo for this card in the 1982 Kmart set that brought the whole thing to a new generation. And all the pieces were in place to build a hobby legend. PSA 8 value, $1,100 to $1,200. 1965 Topps NL home run leaders: Willie Mays, Billy Williams, Johnny Callison, Orlando Cepeda, Jim Hart, number 4. Only 3 future Hall of Famers on this home run leaders card, but that still translates to a 600 batting average for Topps. And with Mays in the leadoff spot, it's a card for the ages that has stood the test of time. PSA 8 value, $125 to $175. 1965 Topps NL RBI leaders: Ken Boyer, Ron Santo, Willie Mays, number 6. Mays barely made the cut for this card, beating out Joe Torre by 2 RBI to claim the 3rd place slot in the NL in 1964. But a Mays card that Mays barely made it onto is still a Mays card, and it features one other Hall of Famer, Santo, and top dog Boyer, who may yet get the call to Cooperstown. PSA 8 value, $60 to $120. 1966 Topps Willie Mays, number 1. This is another super recognizable Mays card, one that's been used as eye candy to accompany countless articles and advertisements over the decades since it was issued. The 1966 set features a clean, subdued design that allows plenty of room for May's personality to shine through, and Say Hey delivers with a big smile under a perfect cloudless day. PSA 8 value $2,000 to $2,500. 1966 Topps NL batting leaders: Bob Clemente, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, number 215. Here we get the first glimpse of Mays on a card celebrating batting average, and though he lost out on the 1965 crown to both Aaron and Roberto Clemente, Willie's 317 was nothing to sneeze at. The issue of whether Mays himself is sneezing in the shot is another question altogether. PSA 8 value $900 to $1,400. 1966 Topps NL home run leaders: Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Billy Williams, number 217. Those 52 dingers in 1965 guaranteed that Mays would grace the top slot of yet another home run leaders card, and strong showings by Willie McCovey and Billy Williams ensured another Hall of Fame sweep. If you were ever annoyed by pulling a leaders card from a live pack back in the day, whenever your day was, take a good long look at these mid-1960 versions now and then, and your opinion might change just a bit. PSA 8 value $140 to $170. 1966 Topps NL RBI leaders: Darren Johnson, Frank Robinson, Willie Mays, number 219. Okay. Sometimes the leaders card did produce a bit of a thud, but how can you fault Topps here? Not even the old gum company could have predicted that Darren Johnson would bust out 130 ribbies in 1965. Luckily for F. Robbie and Mays, they held to serve the back end of this card, Hall of Fame-wise. PSA 8 value $90 to $110. 1967 Topps Willie Mays, number 200. Another clean design with a focus on big, clear photos. 1967 Topps has long been a favorite among collectors. And Topps used that crisp design to good effect to deliver a full-on shot of May's smile and a face showing the lines of having played in the big leagues for 15 years and at life for 35. Overall, it's a great card with solid eye appeal. PSA 8 value $750 to $900. 1967 Topps Checklist Willie Mays, number 191. Remember how disappointing it was to pull a checklist from a pack of baseball cards? For me in the 1980s, that meant a 1/15th of my pack was wasted. It was even worse in 1967 when you got just 5 chances per pack. So it was a stroke of genius when Topps decided to include little headshots of various stars to lead off their checklist cards that year. And who do we find perched atop card number 191? Yep, you've been paying attention here, so you know it's Willie Mays. And all of a sudden, there was a checklist card that actually made their packs better. PSA 8 value $25 to $50. 1967 Topps NL home run leaders: Hank Aaron, Richie Allen, Willie Mays, number 244. After Hank Aaron took the 1966 NL home run crown with 44 bombs, he stood a full 100 dingers behind Mays, who finished third that summer with 37. Who could have predicted then that would be Mays' last 30-homer season, or that Hank would smash the gas over the next decade or so? All collectors knew for sure back then was that they got both sluggers on one card, with Richie Allen thrown in the middle to spice things up. PSA 8 value $150 to $200. 1967 Topps Fence Busters Willie Mays and Willie McCovey, number 443. The Giants traded Cepeda to St. Louis for Ray Sadecki in May of 1966, so there would be no reprisal of the old Giant Gunners card anytime soon. But that didn't mean Mays was left all by his lonesome in the Bay. No way. Not when Stretch McCovey was stationed at first base, ready to bust some fences with his more seasoned legend of a teammate. And thus, Fence Busters was born. PSA 8 value $275 to $325. 1968 Topps Willie Mays, number 50. If you like burlap and retread photos, the 1968 Topps Mays is the card for you. Yeah, this is the same image Topps used for Mays on his iconic 1965 card, which means Willie was at least 4 years older than this pic showed by the time his 1968 card saw the light of day. Not the most inspiring of Mays cards, but still a Mays card, so there's that. PSA 8 value $750 to $900. 1968 Topps Superstars, Harmon Killebrew, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, number 490. Understatement or stating the obvious? The 1968 Topps Superstars card was a little of both. Harmon Killebrew, Willie Mays, and Mickey Mantle were three of the biggest boppers in the game, all headed to the Hall of Fame. So something more along the lines of baseball Olympus might have fit the bill. Either way, Mays lights up the scene with his big smile, standing between his American League counterparts. PSA 8 value, $500 to $600. 1969 Topps Willie Mays, number 190. This one may be a little bit less obvious than the 1968 Topps card, but the 69 also features a repeat photo. Go back a few entries. Take the 1966 Topps card, blow up the image, and then crop it tight, and you get the 1969 Topps Willie Mays. At least they dropped the burlap. PSA 8 value, $800 to $900. 1970 Topps Willie Mays, number 600. If gray can be bold, then Topps went full-on bold with their 1970 design. No one had ever seen a big full card set that featured gray borders, and this one is predictably polarizing. Still is. But regardless of how you feel about the card edges, you have to admit that the clean design works well with a big image of Mays posed with his weapon of choice. This is also a rare late series appearance for Mays, who generally landed up front in the Topps issues. PSA 8 value, $400 to $600. 1971 Topps Willie Mays, number 600. Of course, just about every set out there has to get in line behind 1971 Topps when it comes to polarizing baseball card designs. Love them or hate them though, the black bordered beauties are undeniably a hobby classic, and the chipping and other condition sensitivities inherent in the dark borders make them tough to come by in high grades. Add in another high number slot for Mays, and you have a jump in value compared to the Mays cards that come before and after. PSA 8 value, $1,300 to $1,400. 1972 Topps Willie Mays, number 49. Jumping from the darkness to an explosion of psychedelic color, Topps kept collectors guessing in the early 70s. In 1972, that meant pulling Mays back down into the low numbers and then adding something extra nearby. PSA 8 value, $300 to $400. 1972 Topps Willie Mays in action, number 50. And that something extra was an in-action card of the Say Hey Kid that showed him sliding through a cloud of dust. It was fitting, too, because even though Mays was 40 in 1971, and even though he hadn't touched 20 stolen bases in a season since 1960, he swiped 23 that summer before this card was issued. He also tagged 18 dingers in 1971, but he never touched double digits in either category again. PSA 8 value, $300 to $400. 1973 Topps Willie Mays, number 305. In May of 1972, the unthinkable happened. The Giants traded Willie Mays. You might as well have said that the Vatican had traded the Pope. The only nugget that made this deal even halfway palatable was that Mays was headed to the New York Mets, who toiled in Shea Stadium, not too far from the old Polo Grounds, Mays' original Major League Baseball stomping grounds. The next year, Topps gave us this almost final look at Mays in his New York uniform, and it's a classic in its own right. PSA 8 value, $300 to $400. 1973 Topps all-time home run leaders. Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, number 1. Aaron out-homered Mays 34-8 in 1972, and it was enough to catapult Hammer into second place in the all-time home run list. With Mays headed deeper into his 40s, and Hank showing no signs of slowing down, it suddenly became apparent that Aaron was going to be the one to aim at Babe Ruth's all-time home run record, first at least. Topps recognized the impending history and capitalized on the moment with this Mount Rushmore of a card that just seems to get more popular with each passing year. PSA 8 value, $500 to $600. 1974 Topps 1973 World Series Game 2, Willie Mays, number 473. Topps didn't produce a true career capper for Mays when his career ended after the 1973 season, but they did give collectors at least one last look at the legend. Thanks to an unlikely division title in 1973 and an even more unlikely victory over the Cincinnati Reds in the National League Championship Series, The New York Mets found themselves in the battle with the Oakland A's in the World Series. There, in Game 2, Mays put together his big last performance, driving in a run with 2 outs at the top of the 12th inning to give the Mets a 7-6 lead. They would eventually win the game by a 10-7 score, and Topps commemorated the game and Mays' big moment on card number 473 in 1974. PSA 8 value, $60 to $90.